Sometime in the fire, sometime in the fire.
Their stories are intertwined with the Belle Meade Plantation. This is where enslaved men, women, and children spent much of their lives. Now, they can tell their side of the story, and it starts in 1807 in a cabin just like this.
So this is an example of some of the cabins that the slaves would live in.
Yes, so this is called a saddlebag cabin. Saddlebag meaning that you have two sides that are joined by a fireplace in the center. They're roughly 15 by 15 feet. You have anywhere from 8 to 10 people living per side at a given time, so not a lot of space.
Bridget Jones is the former director of African American Studies at the Belle Meade Plantation. Today, she's taking us on the Journey to Jubilee tour, a project that she helped create.
The Journey to Jubilee covers the African American perspective from the enslaved perspective all the way into post-emancipation and Reconstruction. So Journey to Jubilee began just as a project that was later developed into a tour. So we try to make sure that we not only cover slavery and the horrors of slavery, but also what these individuals went on to do well on past emancipation and their descendants as well as covering the numerous parallels between society then and society today.
Bridget starts the tour at the Carriage House. She talks about the Harding and Jackson families who called this place home. She also explains why Belle Meade was not a typical plantation.
Most people tend to come to places like this and dive headfirst into cotton, tobacco, sugarcane, which I get, but none of those things were grown here. Belle Meade is unique because it was a premier thoroughbred nursery and stud farm. So this was a horse-raising plantation. So this plantation didn't raise regular racehorses, they raised the best of the best racehorses of the era.
Bridget explains the vital role that slavery played here. At one point, there were 136 enslaved people. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of details about all of them.
We can tell you about the names for the horses over here for sure. Then also we can tell you about how a stud farm runs over here. We can tell you about the hospitality of the Harding Jackson family over there. We can tell you about different people that would have been here over time, but we can tell you all this interesting information and everything about every single horse, but I can't even tell you the names of the people that would have been caring for the horses that made the family all of the money that they had. That's where stuff gets a little bit tricky.
Even with the missing details, the tour paints a vivid image of slavery.
We're looking at primary source documents so that you'll see who you're talking about on paper, and then you're also going to see their pictures. So now you can see, well, this is what they were doing and what they're listed as in 1865. Now let's talk about what they look like around 1865 too. So you try to make it a really real experience.
That real-life experience is also told inside the mansion. That's where you'll hear personal stories, like that of Susanna Carter, who is the head of domestic staff. Bridget spends close to 30 minutes talking about her life.
She gave a first-person interview in 1886 to an author, and I used that interview so this is what she said about slavery. Okay, but this is also some of the things that she was going through at that time. Can we trust this interview? And if we can trust it, what does that say about her psychological state at that time? So we just try to look at the interview from every angle. She said that freedom had been good for some, but that it was bad for others. Personal question, what does a person have to do to you generation after generation and year after year for you to become a grown woman, get married, have 5 children, and believe it was better for you and your children to have been enslaved than to have your own freedom?
Bridget leads the tour through the Belle Meade Mansion, covering 99 years of history along the way. Each room offers a different perspective and a new set of questions. What happened before the Civil War? Why did so many choose to stay after emancipation? These are all questions that Bridget tries to answer.
But we teach that emancipation happened, but we don't teach how emancipation happened. So imagine that you've been a slave your whole life. You can't read and you can't write. It's illegal for you to know how to do these things. You've also never left this plantation before. It's illegal for you to leave this plantation. Okay, so what are you gonna do on Wednesday? Union soldiers gallop up and read off the Emancipation Proclamation. Better yet, what you gonna do when they finish and tell you that you are hereby and everforth free? Thanks, you can go now.
While the Journey to Jubilee tour is a look at the past, Bridget hopes it can shed light on the present and lead to a better future.
Here we stand today, still trying to figure out what does freedom look like. To be honest, we still trying to figure out if we entitled to it yet. Thank you for listening. Any questions? Thank you so much. Thank you. These topics affect everybody. Slavery is something that not only happened to just Black Americans, it happened to Afro-Latinos and Afro-Caribbeans and anybody else that is a derivative of Africa. So I think it's important that everyone hears this story so it doesn't happen to anybody else again.